All right. Well, we are super excited, guys. First of all, welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the BeyondFace podcast. My name is Khadijah, and we have our phenomenal,
thank you,
iconic, Eat It Up.
Thank you. You're so sweet. You are so sweet. Oh my gosh.
Yes, Mrs. Mahogany Gaskin.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, so, I've known Mahogany since, middle school?
It's been a long time. We've known each other for a very long time. We go way back. And I'm in your home city.
You know.
You. Oh,
shout out to Tacoma. What's up?
Toketown.
Tokyo.
It's Tokyo.
Right. We didn't pat in any of that, okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. Tokyo. Represent.
Give me some. Let's go.
For real though. Seriously.
Yeah.
I feel like living there to now to see everybody, even some of our classmates that we graduated with, to see everybody, and you know what I'm talking about, that little group, be so successful like that, I'm really happy about, to be able to see that.
For sure, and that's really what it's about. Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I'm not doing that much, but thank you, and honestly, that's why we're here today, because I want to shed some light on, who Mahogany is, what she does, and guys, if you don't know this phenomenal woman, you need to go and follow her, because she's up next. She already owned, but watch her name as she continues to climb in her craft. And should we just tell them? She makes and designs beautiful gowns.
Thank you.
Beautiful gowns by hand. She sews. She's very intricate. She has a lot of attention to detail. She is a phenomenal designer.
Thank you.
Let's start from the very beginning, though, because, and I hope you're open, sis.
Okay.
I hope you good?
Yeah. I'm a tinge nervous, but we're here, and I'm excited. I'm genuinely happy to be here, and I just appreciate, honestly, anything you do. It wouldn't have mattered. I would have jumped right in.
Okay.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Okay, well, perfect. We've been talking about this for a very long time, and I remember you back in high school and middle school, and honestly, you used to be an artist then.
I feel like I tapped into the art side of this could be something. It's not sewing specifically. That didn't happen until 2019.
Yeah.
However, I remember drawing I think it was 10th or 11th grade, and I had an art class, and I can't remember my teacher's name. She was phenomenal though. But there was an art class I had in 10th or 11th grade, and we had a portrait series. And that was when I found out. I was like, oh, I could do a little something, but I kept it to myself.
Well, I saw.
I saw your art. Saw them, but for the most part, I kept it to myself, because I kept finding people be surprised, oh, you're doing this, or oh, you're doing that. But it was probably if you knew me at that time, maybe, but for a lot of my sketches for a long time, I kept it to myself.
Why?
I don't know. I felt the same way about sewing in the beginning when it started too, because I feel like at that time there was a lot of things happening, at home in particular. It was just very volatile for a multitude of reasons. And when I started doing that, first of all, I was really excited about it because my dad can draw. He's an amazing artist. He can draw caricatures of people, when people are on the street. Mm-hmm. He's extremely artistic in that way. He can do it at the drop of a hat. He can just draw. But for me, it took a little more focus and practice. But once I got into it, I could get lost and just completely lose track of time drawing something, and not really have to focus on being stressed out or frustrated about certain things that were taking place. So it kind of, to me, it's just my thing. It felt like something that belonged to me, because I never really felt like I had something that, oh, this is just what I do. Some people grow up playing basketball, or grow up playing football, or grow up playing a certain instrument. I didn't really tap into that until very late, at least in my opinion. So I'm happy about it.
10th or 11th grade is late?
Well, I wouldn't say late, but I didn't really have anything that was specifically grabbing my focus. I think I was just out here living life, and that was fine. But, to really start tapping into oh, this is my thing that I can kind of have to myself. And it just felt like a safe space. And so similar to that, well, we'll get there. But similar to that, 2019, starting to sew, when my husband was just buy the material. And he bought me a sewing machine, and he bought everything I needed to kind of just jump into it, and it just became an obsession, and it never stopped. And now that it is, you know, shared with everybody, like the support that I never expected I would receive is on a whole nother level. And I know that there's like more to come, but I've been blown away. Like when I say blown away. So I'm just grateful because, you know, things like that, I really tend to just try to keep it for myself and to myself. It scared me to be sewing for other people. It really did.
I know.
It scared the living daylights out of me to be sewing for people, period. You know, or just kind of not necessarily being in service to people, but opening up the thing that's so intimate for you or personal for you or safe for you.
Beautiful.
To like open that up to other people, regardless to whether or not money is going into a bank account. Like it's just period. It just felt like something that was mine. And sometimes when I start stuff like that, I just like to hold on to it and just cherish that for as long as I can before I start really bringing other people into the mix. But that comes with delegation and learning and growing. And so you open up as you go. But yeah.
Man, that is phenomenal.
Yes,
honestly,
ma'am.
I know you guys have seen her heart just by what she just said.
Thank
She's such a beautiful person to me. And I mean, I'm just going to keep giving you your kudos the whole time.
I have to say the same for you.
Okay,
every time.
well, no.
It's just going to be bouncing back and forth, okay? Because it's just going to be going back and forth.
So precious. Okay, but
thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, you started out drawing these portraits.
I love portraits.
I mean, oh my gosh, they were gorgeous. And honestly, you were the best doing it at the time because I didn't know anybody else could really draw like that.
Thank you.
I was like, where did this come from? I was so astonished. And then was there ever a transition in your art? Now I get, you know, okay, that was like what? 2007 or
it had to be like 2009 or 2008. Yeah.
2000, right. Yeah, 2008, yeah. 2009. You know, in between, I mean, you said 2008, 2009, and then you said 2019. Mm-hmm. Like that is a huge, large gap. Mm-hmm. Who was Mahogany in that gap? Because how did it go from, okay, I am an artist in drawing to I'm a designer and I'm designing gorgeous gowns. Like, was there anything in that time that switched, or who were you then?
I'm going to have to say it was God, and I'm being so serious about that and not even cliche, because during the time, like between 2011 when I graduated to 2015 when I graduated from the illustrious University by the Sea, Savannah State University.
Period.
Thank you. I really took the time to like enjoy my college years. I love that time, and I didn't draw as much as I wanted to, but it, you know, like I kept my my book. I think I drew like 2 pictures maybe in college, and I was just kind of sad about it being so busy, and you start working and you start kind of coming into your own, so you really have to do things to maintain your life. You're coming into adulthood very quickly, so the time just wasn't there for me personally to just focus on anything outside of like school and work. It just wasn't there, and so for me, I got married in 2018, and a year later, I remember sitting on the couch. This had to be like September or like October of 2019. And I was sitting on the couch, and we were actually, me and my husband were sitting in the living room. And I was just like, out of the blue, I'm like, I wonder if I could make a dress. Like, what if I could have made my wedding gown? You know, like a year after my wedding, by the way. I'm still mad about that. But anyway.
But you don't want that dress, though.
I probably wouldn't have wanted that dress, because that would have been... That would have been the first dress I ever made. That probably would have been a mess.
No, I'm talking about stress.
Like the stress. I thought you said you would have wanted that dress.
No.
You know what? That year was really hard. 2018, the year we got married, was very, very rough.
Why?
It was rough because there were, and a lot of people know this, especially if they've planned a wedding before or just in general. First of all, planning a wedding is very stressful. Okay, particularly when you're doing a lot of things on your own. Now, thankfully for us, we had a village, and we had some family to kind of help us pull things together, because physically also it is a big task. It's a very big event. And so there were just some things transpiring with regards to my family that caused a lot of challenges, and some relationships that for me really struggled, and it was hurtful for me because, you know, I'm really soft. I'm really soft. So for me, it was hard to like carry all of that. And then at the time, so he would have been my fiance at that time, but really just kept me grounded. And honestly, he planned the entire wedding, if I have to say, without me being involved.
He's behind the camera, by the way, but we're giving him kudos.
Thank you. No, he literally planned the entire thing without me being involved because I was that stressed to where I told him all I can do is just show up. Seriously, I told him that. I'm like, is there any way that like certain things can be off my plate? I know it's a lot. And he took that on and everything was flawless. Everything was flawless. So I will say like after that year, I was just sitting there. I'm like, I wonder if I can make a dress. And again, not to, make this a husband parade, but I have to tell you, like, he literally was like, okay, do it. He's very much like you. Like, when I say something to you, you're not going to let me escape it until I see it through. That's how he is. Don't have a dream, a goal, an aspiration around these type of people. Don't do that. Like, if you say it, now they're like, okay, what is the next step? And so that execution just took place. I got on YouTube and I made my first little mermaid skirt, with the horse hair, the curly hem. And I feel like the obsession just took off from there. He bought me my first machine. And originally that was for me to make my wigs on, which I don't even use anymore to do that specifically, but he bought me my first sewing machine, fabric. We went to the store like in the middle of the night, I think, and bought everything. And it just turned into an obsession. My guest bedroom that used to be a guest bedroom is now a full-on like sewing workshop. That's it. Yeah.
Wow, that is phenomenal. It's like overnight success. Like you literally went to the store one night and the next day you had a dress.
I was I think on YouTube, there were certain things that were far too advanced for me to like know or even understand how to do. I literally would, anytime I would be like either working or just sitting down, like not, how people just like watch TV or seasons of a show?
Yeah.
I would watch the same exact video on repeat. And listen until something finally clicked to where I'm like, oh, I think I get that. I can do that. Literally obsessed. Like I would spend overnight completely not sleeping until work the next morning, just working on a garment that wasn't for anybody. Like it was just a sample because I just wanted to, really be able to create. And I'm impatient. So if I'm not immediately good at something, that aggravates the living daylights out of me. And sometimes that leads me to step away from things sooner than I should. But some of that impatience, it just makes me like hurry up because I want to learn this. Like, I don't want a dress to wear to the beach. That's nice. But I want something that really is going to be like for a formal event and make it really nice. And that impatience just, cost me a lot of rest. But I love it. I love the process and I'm still obsessed.
So, and that's so great to hear. And it tells a lot about your character and like how your workmanship or workswomanship of the detail that you do put in. And we actually, see that today.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for like really taking this seriously and really, honing in on your expertise and skills. How long did it take, in those dark hours, like where you were behind the scenes and you were watching those videos and things, how long do you think it took you before you were able to produce something that, was for the public?
I had a girlfriend that I worked with, and this conversation that I had with Jermaine happened in September. She said in October, so a month from our first conversation about him and I and the skirt that I wanted to make and how I wanted to get started, I had a girlfriend that was having a pop-up shop, which something I had never done or like, really been to or anything like that. So it was in the space of a month that I made the first 3 gowns. I'm telling you, I was...
Obsession.
There was nothing that could pull, I don't know. Like, have you ever just started something new and you just can't stop?
Yeah.
Or maybe I have an obsessive personality, but Khadijah, I stayed up all day, all night. Like, seriously. Like, it was an obsession. And I would say within the space of a month, that's when I had my first 3 dresses. And I'll never forget being at the pop-up shop, not having cards, not having a business name. Girl, I just showed up with 3 dresses, okay? This is what I got. Like, a pop-up shop is for people to come patronize you. You know what I'm saying? If you have a boutique or something. But I just was like, I'm here with this is what I got.
Do you remember like getting any customers from that pop-up shop?
Actually, yes. So what's crazy about that is one of my prom clients from this year, I met her mom at that pop-up shop in 2019 when I first started. And I will never forget, she was asking me at that time, I think about sewing lessons. And I wrote people's names down who wanted to either shop with me or learn something. And first of all, I'm like, you want to learn something from me?
And I hate when you do that.
You want to learn? You want to what? So yes, because I was new. I wasn't even 6 months into it.
But you were good.
For people to be like, can you teach me? And I'm like, y'all.
They just want to know what's your bare minimum, sis.
I mean, so that really, again, that blew me out of the water. And that type of like excitement is like a battery in my back.
Yeah.
So it was in the space of a month. That's when it just, and it never went away. So I'm just so happy to God, because I feel like in the beginning it felt very random. But with some of the things that I've encountered and some of the clients and some of like the success stories, it's just really kind of confirmation for me that it's not random at all. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. So it went very quickly. It went.
Sorry, I had to cough.
Okay.
We're gonna cut that out.
Okay. Yes.
But that's why it's so phenomenal too, because we hear all the time, like God will make way for your gifts. And you don't really know how he's coming.
Right.
We have ideas in our head of like what we think that we want, and how we think we want to do stuff. But then God will give you a husband who will then encourage you having this crazy idea to go get a freaking sewing machine in the middle of the night. Right. And then the next day you have a product, and then the next month you have actual customers. Yeah. And that's really how God moves. He moves without limits. He moves without, with very much so intention. So that is phenomenal. It's good to hear, like, even your very first client, like client or a customer, a potential patron, saw that gift in you and
came to me in 2023
that
from
is
2019.
wild.
So now it really, talking to you about it, honestly, like I'm tingling a little bit because I feel like it's putting into perspective the way that things have really gone. I feel like when you're in the middle of something, you don't really see, maybe not the intentionality is not the word I'm looking for, but just how you're going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Like you don't see those changes as they're happening. So it's just kind of crazy to be telling you this in a story format, because it just didn't seem to go that way when I was like in it. But that is crazy.
So when you were in it, let's talk about you. Yeah. Because I think that is something to highlight, to hear how your trajectory, first of all, your overall story of how you got to today, but also like in that in-between time, right? Let's go back. Okay, so you said you were a caterpillar. What was your caterpillar stage like for you?
Oh my goodness. Living in our first apartment, at the time, I think I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. I was working 2 jobs. I was actually switching over from...
That she needs to close one right now, but we'll talk about it.
Oh my gosh. I was working I feel like I'm always the type of person that is going to have like a, feeling of just wanting to be independent, and which is again why I appreciate my husband for not trying to pull me away from being that person. I can fully be that person and still be supported at home. You know what I'm saying? Whereas for a lot of people, that's just like a power struggle. And I don't have to experience that. So I get to just, if I want to do all this, then I get to do all that. But I can also relax.
And then she's going to have a friend that's going to choke her out.
Right.
AKA me.
Right. And I'm operating under the threat of Khadijah coming at my throat for not following my gifts, but I really appreciate it, and I feel like now I intentionally seek out people like that are gonna really like iron sharpens iron and like polish me in a certain way. But definitely I would say in those between years I did makeup for a little bit, which I love. But it got weird having like random people in my apartment. So I stopped doing that because it was just like, what is happening? I remember I had one lady in particular that the vibe was just really crazy. Not that she was like angry at me, but just some of the things that she was sharing with me from her, just personally, I was like, I don't need to be doing this. Like, it's too much traffic in your home, you know? And so I didn't want to do that unless I was in a suite. So I decided I don't want to, keep doing makeup. But again, I enjoy it very much. There was a period of time where I was making wigs, and that was nice. That actually was okay. There was nothing wrong with that. But for whatever reason, again, it didn't hold my interest the way that sewing did. And I never in a million years, like I would have never been the type of person to be like, I want to be a fashion designer. Like, no, that in nowhere has ever been, like, I honestly wanted to be a scientist for a long time. So
I didn't know that about you.
It's never been anywhere. A neuropsychopharmacologist. Yeah. I took a course in college. I loved it, by the way. Loved it. Still would be interested, but I'm like, but
what does that doctor do?
Like, so if you have that is a doctor that looks at like the effects of medicines on the body and like in the brain. Yeah. And like your nervous system and everything. So like if someone's addicted to like cigarettes, you do that affects you on a neural level, like your nerves. And so when people have the shakes and stuff like that from like being an alcoholic, it's wearing down the covering of the nerve. See, I'm already going into it. I love this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Love it, love it, love it. So that was like my area of interest for a long time because I love science. But again, God was like, nope, here you go. And I love it.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That is so crazy though to hear, how really you had no interest and then
whatsoever. No.
All of a sudden you had a obsession. In how long has it been now? It's been since 2019, so 4 years?
Yeah.
About how many, off the top of your head, how many dresses have you created already?
I know that it's at least over 100. And I'm going to say that because, or maybe, I don't know, I might be approaching that. I need to find that out. Because the 100th dress would be a celebration.
Yeah.
That would be a celebration if I'm not already there. And I'm serious because I know that I did around...
Are you sure you haven't passed 100?
I don't know. I think I did around 30 last year. Seriously, because I had 25 for prom, and I know I had 5 brides outside of that and like a birthday gown.
And that was last year,
yeah.
sis. I think
so I have to think about that. I have to really...
I think you either are approaching or past that.
Yeah. You're going to make me look at that. Okay. I'm going to look at that.
All right. So definitely give us an update, and we would love a photo of the 100th dress on our page.
You're making me think, girl. I got the wheels turning. Like, was it? Could I be there?
That is amazing, though.
Thank you.
And I guess, so what would you say your style of dress? I know we're formal. What's your favorite style of dress to actually create?
So I don't get to do a lot of these because I feel like I never wanted to be the designer where it's like you only do one type of dress, one aesthetic, and nothing is wrong with that. Get your coins. But I just wanted to dibble and dabble in everything. So I'm talking about menswear, children's formal. So I just want everything to be high formal. Mm-hmm. High formal, I feel like is my aesthetic. I love sequins, love a good mermaid. But if I had to say what truly would embody me, a massive ball gown. And again, high formal. But I love the ball gown silhouette. I feel like it goes for anybody. Mm-hmm. Small, medium, large, extra large, doesn't matter. And I feel like you can change so many things to just accent that person's shape. You can raise your skirt, lower your skirt, however you want to do it. But to me, a ball gown is it. Now, everybody comes to me for the mermaid, okay? And I love that. I'm not mad at them, but definitely I would love to be able to do more ball gowns. I feel like that is, if not already where I'm at, where I would want my aesthetic to be, is mostly ball gowns. Yes.
Yeah, I like how you said that. And you listed off all of the sizes. And that's one thing that I loved to hear about your designs is that it's hard for women, especially, I mean, I used to, I was a little busty in high school, right? And then, with certain women, we have curves, we're all different sizes. I think that's what's great about your service.
Thank you.
Is that you can make any woman feel high class, on fleek, popping, who, when, where, why. It's me. I'm walking in the room. It's my time.
Thank you.
And literally every dress that I've seen that has come from you has done that for everybody. It doesn't matter the size.
Khadijah, girl.
Don't start. But
Thank
you know, I mean, everybody just looks great. And what do you think, what do you think is your magical factor there? Because you say every silhouette, can look good on everybody, but I think that's because you create it. I don't think that's because every silhouette looks good on everybody. I think that it is the designer, especially, so, when you go to a department store, you only get the size that's there. So one size does not fit all. Correct. And even if it is your size, it may not fit you as tailored and as nice. So do you think that is accredited to your attention to detail, or, what do you think is your magical sauce? I mean, you ain't got to give all your beans, but I mean, you literally make all dresses that look good. I've never seen anybody who I'm like, why they got that on? You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's definitely, even if you do, I want to say this too, but even if you do purchase a dress from like Dillard's or something like that, you still straighten it up before you take a picture. So when I get crazy pictures back, I do not post them. I do just want to
period. Hold on. Well, I get some of y'all out there.
I don't want nobody being angry with me, but if you got 47 people in the background and like your grandma's trying to hand you a sandwich and you're posing for a picture, like I can't, there's only so much editing. So I do want to share that. Okay. But when it comes to sizes, I actually used to get a lot of criticism in the beginning. People would comment on my Facebook post or like my Instagram post, or even message me. Like people that I did not know at all would be like, I'm a shop with you when you start servicing plus size people. And I'm like, the whole time I'm size 16, the entire time from like 2019 to now, I'm still 16. So people would be like, you don't make anything for skinny people, like literally in the comments. And which again, not like a diss, but I would be like, are y'all seeing me right now? Like, cause I consider myself like 16 is plus size. So I used to get that feedback a lot, and that it didn't frustrate me, but it made me be like, you need to really focus and be more intentional about visibility. And the reason that the designs were coming out the way they were in the beginning is because the first 2 mannequins I ever got were completely free. And they were just a size 2-4. So that was kind of what I had to practice with. And so that's kind of how that started. And that's why for a while it looked like I just didn't design for people my size. But I always want to make room for everybody. And honestly, my obsession with watching all those YouTube videos, they were teaching you how to draft patterns from the person's measurements. And so I don't know how to read. Like if you go in Joann's and purchase a store-bought pattern, I have a box of them I haven't touched. I have a big box, but I don't know how to read those patterns. I don't understand how to put them together. I make my own patterns. I would go to Dollar Tree and purchase poster boards and like draft out the people's measurements with literally a ruler and a pencil. And that is how I go through my design.
Wow.
So I started looking up people in the design space and looking at, how did they start and what was their inspiration and what did they do? Because again, still very fresh. So Vera Wang didn't start designing until she was 40. Crazy. And she used to be an ice skater, I think. And so she said, I can't imagine designing clothes without considering how they would move on the body. And that's the frame of mind that I just kind of like borrowed from her when it came to plus size people. Because I feel like when you're designing for somebody who has a slim figure, it is, I wouldn't say necessarily easier because some elements can still be challenging, but it is less of a strategy in the beginning up front. But as you become curvier, you do have to account for certain things, the bust, the booty area, you have to kind of start to account for those curves a little bit by way of darts or what other elements that you want to use. But it never at any point occurred to me that I would not like design for plus size. I want anybody of any size to be able to come to me and get a dress. It doesn't matter.
And child, if you do get one, you're going to look good and snatched, okay? So you better get with it, okay, period.
You're so silly.
But yes, oh my gosh. So yeah, oh my gosh.
Everybody.
So, I mean, it's almost like when Rihanna developed Fenty and she had a shade for everybody and everybody was like, oh my gosh. Like that's how I feel about your dresses.
Shook the table.
Yeah, but you're shaking
the table.
You are shaking the table.
Thank you.
And you are doing a really good job at it.
Thank you.
So, okay, great. So you're designing for all sizes. You would say the ball gown is like true to your core identity.
Yes.
You want to
Classy.
develop formal wear for everybody. So I guess, where do you see your designs going in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a really good question.
What's ideal for you?
It is going to be ideal for me to touch everybody. And I do mean everybody when I say that, okay? And so I definitely am focused a little bit this year on menswear and how to achieve that. Working smarter, not harder. So working with a vendor, something that you and I have also discussed, to kind of recreate some things. But I still would love to very much keep the custom aspect alive. I feel like it is nice to be able to draw out a design and, like, you know, outsource that to someone and have it produced. But sometimes there's nothing like it just being custom created. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's always that flair.
There's just not, to me, there's just nothing like it. And I am not, in some ways, the visionary I could be, but the clients, they're the people who come to me with the ideas, and then we come together and make it into something. So I very much want to keep the custom aspect alive, but I do want to work with vendors to bring some of the designs that maybe like people love the most, or like if there's a certain dress for a year that everybody's like, oh my gosh, make that like a prom design that people might love for the next year, in different colors and different sizes, but not to where everybody has the same dress, because that's what we're trying. We didn't get in this to do that, you know. So I want to move away from the replication, because I do get asked to replicate things a lot. And I want to move away from the replication, because, again, that's besides the point of custom. But definitely working with vendors, expanding to menswear, and kids. Yes.
You said too much in one sentence. So I'm going to start with the first part of the sentence before we get to the last part of the sentence.
Yeah.
Custom.
Yes.
That means your price is about to go up. So listen, if y'all...
Said I got a few things I'm going to tell you right now today, okay?
No. That's what you just said.
Yeah.
You said that. So if y'all don't have a dress today, y'all probably want to get one tomorrow, because in a few years, you're going to be paying $20K for a, right now, $1,500 dress.
Yesterday's price.
It's not today's price.
I'm sorry.
So listen, if you haven't,
So sorry.
you need to get with it.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that you don't want to replicate. I literally went into Neiman Marcus not too long ago and almost fussed out the shoe person.
Oh my God.
What they did to you? I cannot talk to you.
What did they do?
I mean, they're selling these shoes for $1,500, and they all look the same. I don't care if it's these other high-end designers. I'm not even going to say no names, okay? But, you know, where is fashion going? Is it all fast fashion? I don't want to look like I'm shopping at Shein and I'm shopping at Neiman.
I feel like fast fashion is I wouldn't say it's starting to fall, but I do think that there are some eyes kind of looking at it like what's happening. When you look at sustainability and like the whole thing that was trending on Twitter for a lot of days, I think with Shein in particular, the factory, how they're treating the workers, how these garments are coming over to us, that became a real concern for like a lot of people. So if you were to ask me like, where's fashion going? I feel like it's going where everything else is going, which is AI and probably the metaverse, which I think is really cool. I haven't tinkered in that yet because I'm still right here in reality, okay, with us. But yeah, I definitely would say like fast fashion, it's kind of bad for the environment. I'm not even gonna lie. It is kind of bad for the environment.
And it's bad for designers. Like they have these dupes. I mean, I get
or they'll
it.
take their designs.
They'll take their designs.
Not even communicate with you and just sell them.
Yeah.
Or take your pictures from your Instagram and have them on DHgate or somewhere crazy.
What
you
is
do
that?
see that. Yeah, it's a Chinese website you can order from.
Oh. Well, I mean, and that has its own issue, right? But I was snapping on the dude. I was snapping on Neiman's because they're selling stuff that looks like I can buy it at Shein.
And Fashion Nova.
And Fashion Nova. You know? And so I love the fact that, you know, you're taking your craft seriously. You're not half-stepping. You are going all in with the customization and making sure that, you know, everybody has that signature when they come to get your designs. And that's what I like the most, because it's like, I don't want to look like Shawty from across the street. Like,
I love that you say that, because one of the things that I want to be able to me, where I feel like, what does success look like for me, right? Like, what does that really look like? When someone can see a dress and not know me personally and be like, oh, I think that's a Mo dress, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think Mahogany made that, and just know. I feel like that would be amazing to have.
Wow. And honestly, when I'm on my timeline, I'm scrolling, I was like, is that Mahogany? Look.
Thank you. Thank you.
Plug.
Thank you.
But, hold on. On the other end of the last sentence you stated before I started talking like a robot. Children.
Yes. Yeah. As far as like having them, or
I mean, you
or
told
designing for them.
Oh, I thought you meant you were going to have children. I thought that's what you were saying.
I mean, yeah, I would love that personally. I feel like I'm in a place of just, I don't know, I feel like I'm in a place of just really like happiness and joy. I feel like I know that I've always wanted to be a mom, and I genuinely feel like in my heart I would be an amazing mom. Like, I really do. Yeah. In my heart. And we actually suffered a loss back in 2021. So, and I didn't even know, and it wasn't anything that was expected. I mean, I would have been super happy, but I went from being like, oh my gosh, screaming on the phone with Jermaine, screaming on the phone. I remember I called Jermaine, I called my best friend, and then within that same day having to go get like surgery. Wow. Because I had a rupture. So it just was crazy, like all in the same day. It was like a real serious like roller coaster. And I feel like I didn't, at that time, I wasn't sad and upset, because again, the same day I found out, it was because I was having pains. And so when I went to get seen about it, they were like, oh, you know, you're pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then in the same day, it was like, actually, no, this is not happening for you. So that, now that I'm talking about it, it's making me like tear up a little bit. So I'm trying not to go there, because I've never cried about it, to be honest with you. And it has never like hit me in the heart like that. But to now think about it, like that would have been like me being a mom, you know. And I feel like for a lot of reasons in my heart, again, I could be a really great mom. So I look forward to that whenever God blesses us in that way, for sure. But definitely there's been a lot of, I'm going to take it on a happier note, a lighter note, but there's been a lot of kiddie proms that are starting to happen. I think I did my first kiddie prom like in 2020.
Stop it. That's so adorable.
And again, that same client came back to me this year for another kiddie prom for her baby girl. And I mean, this little girl is gorgeous. I'm telling you, she all she had to do was send me the measurements, and I was able to just send the dress, and it fit her just like it did the last time. It fit her this time. So I love that. I'm happy about that. And I really want to expand that to give an attention to suits for the little guys and the dresses for the little girls. I really want to be able to produce that and have that available.
That's really dope. And honestly though, like well, what you don't realize what you're doing, because I know how you are.
You know me, I'm like too into
the
details.
That's really happening?
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're honestly building your brand through authentic connections. So you're actually networking whenever your product is already speaking for itself. You know, you say like, oh, I just want to get to the point where everybody's like, oh, I believe that's a Mo dress. They're already doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
So they're already doing that.
Yeah.
You're there.
Congratulations.
Congrats. So,
please.
But like you said, you have repeat customers. You have people who have gotten your work and they've loved them. Yeah. I mean, I think that's so phenomenal, and I'm so excited to continue to watch you on this journey professionally, and personally. You know, right now, you know, you're in the midst of like the climb of your professional work. how do you balance
Thank
personal
you.
and professional? Because I see that you take so much pride and integrity into your work. Like you said, you can get lost in the
Yeah.
details. You get lost in the work. And that's what I find about most artists. Like, you know, it's good that you have a solid
But we don't have like
husband.
the checklist and the clipboard and
But listen.
the director. We have to, yeah.
Yeah, you got to kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, I'm sure your husband helps out with that, you know, to help pull you.
He has helped me sew a garment before, actually.
What?
Yes.
Okay, designer part 2, 2.0. Let's do it.
That man has put together, he has done a few things with a sewing machine and some fabric.
Okay.
So I, again, like, to be able to have that support and somebody who understands, and there's no pressure for me to like be a certain way or not do a thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to actually be pushed to do more, if anything,
Yes.
and take it too far, if anything. So I think for me, balance comes in understanding the word delegation. We are still in a phase of learning what that word means and executing it.
This is the battle between you and you. Let's go.
Absolutely, because you, on one hand, you feel like, how in the world can you imagine being like a woodworker.
Okay.
How do you hire a staff of people to custom make certain things to your same style in the way that you would do it, especially when you don't read custom, like commercial patterns,
Right.
which is usually what you would use to start the assembly line process. And so that's where it's like, okay, do you want to maybe draft the pattern and then kind of let them take it from there, the people who understand the construction, and then maybe the people who understand the complex hand beating. You see what I'm saying? And so that's where you start getting into like, what is your actual process? So when it comes to me, like balancing, I genuinely try to think in my mind, like, okay, is Wednesdays the day that you want to do certain consults? You want to do like Saturdays in the morning? So I start finding that Saturdays in the morning work for me. And so, because we're usually, if we're going to do an activity, it's usually not Saturday mornings. And I just want to keep, like, you know, the weekends open because I still work Monday through Friday. And I enjoy my job as well, but I know I enjoy what I do so much just all around. But the balance is, you know, it is a balancing act. I'll put it like that. It is a balancing act. And it is hard sometimes, especially during prom season. It's extremely difficult.
How many dresses are you like sewing during prom season at once?
So last year during prom, I did 25 from March to May.
So in 3 months.
Yeah, and that was hard. That was really, really challenging. But I just
How are you doing this in a full-time job?
Well, what
Please tell us your secrets.
So I started using a form because I'm like, okay, you need a place for inquiries to go at a minimum. So I started using a form where people could, you know, fill that out and put the link. And not everybody used it, which again, whatever. But then I started using a spreadsheet. So whether somebody came to me for an inquiry or not using the form, which again, the form helps me stay like right here. So I know what's happening. And I don't lose messages because you know how that is. Like they start piling up real quick. But definitely like using the form, using the spreadsheet. And those two things have kept me to the point where I've not had to really have an assistant. But now I am to the point of looking for somebody, definitely for at least for prom season at a minimum, to handle inquiries and consultations and possibly even sketches. I don't know about that yet, but somewhere in there. But that has helped me.
And there's an art school in Savannah, right?
Yeah, SCAD.
Okay, I mean, hey, internship, there it goes. But I'm sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead,
no,
finish.
it's okay. I never really considered SCAD, to be honest. I've spoken to like a lot of people, and no shade to SCAD because they're amazing, but I've spoken to a lot of people who felt like they didn't get what they needed or what they were expecting to get out of fashion school. And I found that advice to be really interesting because there are certain things that I would love to know that I think would be applied in fashion school. Like when you, for example, back when we were speaking about working with vendors and having people to, again, an assembly line to manufacture and produce your designs, you have to provide to them what's called a tech pack. That is kind of like an Excel document or like a zip file of your patterns, exactly what the fabric is, exactly what the instructions are to make that garment and produce it. And that's something that I think you actually learn in fashion school as well. So a lot of bumping around in the dark, taking the long route, trying to kind of learn these things independently. But for me, it's just like more fun that way. I feel like I don't have certain technical barriers because it's like, oh, you know, you could just do this way, you know, whereas a person who might have been in those courses specifically, it might not have really allowed them to like pull out their creative side and so through some of their projects.
Right. So when Mahogany's not sewing, who is that person?
I'm really into, this is going to sound so bad, Lord. I'm really into a lot of self-help stuff.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
I feel, because I feel like I've seen so many videos of just like things about how you don't always have to be in a self-help book. You don't always have to be improving. You don't always have to this. And while I appreciate that sentiment from the aspect of like, you don't always have to have a monkey on your back of you must perform in this way. It is important to me personally to grow in a particular way, even with the mistakes that I make. Yeah. Even in trying to correct things, like it's really become more so like in frame for me to focus on those things. So I spend a lot of time reading articles about how to communicate, or I specifically watch therapists sometimes when they do therapy for people and watch people's eyes open throughout just simple conversations about why do you do this or why do you do that. So I've just been really obsessed with that lately. Make me feel like, do I want to be a therapist now? Like, I want to live so many lives, but the personal growth space for me is a little bit of an obsession right now. Truly.
And what types of things are you working on? I mean, I heard communication. What else?
So I really want to get back into public speaking. Okay. I feel like that was my lane for a long time, but there was a transition where I kind of fell away from that a little bit. Again, I feel like there was a transition in me personally. And I just feel like, sometimes people will come here and they try to like cover up their accent if they go to work or certain things like that. I don't really like to feel like I have to change myself in a particular way to be in a setting. And for a long time, I feel like I used to like speak a certain way because, I mean, as you know, my family's not like super from the South, but I just feel like also in addition to that, I had to speak a certain way and sound a certain way to not to get into certain rooms, but that's when you're trained in a certain way, whether it's through pageants or speech competitions, you don't really realize what you're being taught. You don't really realize that. It's not you being true to yourself in terms of the words that are coming out of your mouth. And I just didn't want to have to feel like I had to like, be this version of me that wasn't accurate. Like I speak the way I speak, and sometimes the words come out jumbled up, but you know what I'm saying. Okay. And I just didn't want to have to keep code switching. And I feel like now that I've gotten to a place where I've been looking into so much communication and how to speak to people, I don't want to sound like a robot when I'm connecting with other people. It needs to be human. It needs to be personable. So I want the same thing for whatever that public speaking journey looks like, for it to be authentic and for it to be me, just like my designs. If I'm making something, like, I don't want to make something that Dillard sells. Like, again, I love Dillard's, like, wonderful store. I would love to have a design in Dillard's. But I want everything to be authentic to who I am, because I feel like I recognize that in other people and I gravitate towards that in other people because of that. So I just, for me, I just want to be me. And I feel like I'm genuinely in a place to have the freedom to do that because I pay my own bills.
INDEP. Can we drop? What was that? Boosie?
Yeah.
Can we drop Boosie? Can we drop Boosie real quick?
But when you get grown and it's like, girl, who are you? You have to really understand who is it that you are living for, and who really has to go to bed at night with those feelings and some of those expectations of what people want you to do. Right. And I feel like in some aspects I experienced a little bit of disappointment because there was a high school me that was like, you're going to do this at this age, you're going to do that at that age. And none of that happened, and not in a bad way, but in a way of like, it's just a pivot into what really actually is being given to you and what you should follow. So I'm happy.
I love that. You're choosing happiness, whether it be with your designs or even your personal life, that really embodies who Mahogany is, and that's strong, you know, and that is vibrant, innovative, and that's going up, like going to the next level. So keep winning, girl. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you were able to join the podcast. And honestly, we're looking to have you on in the future and to be hearing about all the other fantastic things that you know, psychological scientist, therapist, recruiter,
like I wanted to be like 10 things. Like,
but that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you're on your journey, you're on your path, and what works for you, you know, you're doing it all. So thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thank you.
Oh, I love you to death.
Yeah. And thank you so much for getting me a cake.
Girl, you finna blow out this candle. Little do you know, you finna do a whole boomerang. You not done yet.
I haven't blown out candles since COVID.
Okay, well then you finna blow out this one right there.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
And we're good.
Thank you.